Tesla, abandoned on a Hollywood street.
Tonight, the LAPD is trying to identify the victim and the owner of that Tesla.
When workers opened the trunk, the smell told them something was wrong.
LAPD says the sedan was reported abandoned, towed from the Hollywood Hills.
Inside, the body of a missing 14-year-old girl. Her name was Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
Authorities have identified the victim as Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
She was 13 years old.
The car was registered to rising pop singer David. And from there, a disturbing timeline began to surface, stretching back years. And now, new reports say Celeste may have been seen at David's concert just 2 weeks before she was found. In this episode, we follow every step, from the first online contact to the day her body was found. This is Under Investigation. I'm Sleuthy Lucy, and this is Under Investigation, where we highlight active and ongoing cases still developing in the news. Here's what we've uncovered so far. On September 8, 2025, workers at a Hollywood impound lot noticed a foul odor coming from a Tesla that had recently been towed. Inside the front trunk, or frunk, police found the decomposed remains of a young girl. She was soon identified as 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a teenager who had gone missing from Lake Elsinore, California, more than a year earlier. The Tesla was registered to 20-year-old alternative pop singer David, best known for his viral breakout hit, Romantic Homicide, and while he was on tour at the time of the discovery, his car, his residence, and his world quickly became the center of an unfolding investigation. In this episode, we're going to walk through the tragic timeline to understand how Celeste's disappearance and David's rising career collided in such a disturbing way. This is a developing story, and what I'm about to share reflects everything we know right now. Before we get lost in timelines, clues, and theories, we need to pause and remember who this story is truly about. Her name was Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Celeste lived with her family in Lake Elsinore, California, about 70 miles southeast of Los Angeles. She was just 14 years old when her life was cut short. And had she lived one more day past September 7th, she would have celebrated her 15th birthday. Celeste was described as small in stature, around 5 feet 2, barely 70 pounds, with wavy black hair and a quiet presence. On the day she first disappeared in April 2024, she had been seen in gray pants, a black sweater, and Hello Kitty sandals. When her body was later found, she was wearing a tube top and black leggings, along with a yellow bracelet and stud earrings. Like so many teenagers, Celeste's world revolved around her friends, her online connections, and her phone. Those digital spaces would later become key pieces of evidence in this case. Her family had spent more than a year searching, handing out flyers, posting her photos, and pleading for information. For them, the news that she had been found inside a Tesla in Los Angeles wasn't closure. It was devastation. In April 2024, Celeste left her family's home in Lake Elsinore around 9 o'clock at night. She never came back. Her family reported her missing, and for weeks, they searched. Flyers went up, her photo spread through the community, and the fear grew with each passing day. According to one of her former teachers, police eventually located Celeste in Hollywood and brought her back home. At just 13 years old, she had already vanished long enough to alarm her family and her school. But this wasn't the first time Celeste had run away, and according to reports, it wouldn't be the last. TMZ has since reported that Celeste came from a troubled home life, had run away on multiple occasions, and even used fake IDs to access 18 and over venues. And then it happened again. In May 2024, just weeks after she was returned, Celeste disappeared again. This time, she was gone for good.
In my classroom, in front of this poster right here. Okay, hold up. I got another one because I got a picture on TMZ of this other kid exchanging stuff with the rapper who we alleged did this stuff. Hold on a second, because he's also in my classroom.
Wait, how long ago was
this? We all just found out yesterday who it was, but she's been missing since I taught her. So when I taught her, she met this dude on social media. He was a rapper in LA. He came and got her. She ran away from home. She was gone for like a month. The cops found her in Hollywood, brought her back to our school. She came back to our school, kind of told people this story. She disappeared again in May of that year, May of 2024. That's when her friends told me what happened, that it was this rapper. And then I found out yesterday that she's now dead in that rapper's car, cut into pieces.
Those early disappearances set the stage for what would become a tragic pattern. And as police reports slowed and her family's pleas went unanswered, Celeste's name was beginning to surface in a very different place, online, alongside the name of an up-and-coming singer named David, spelled D4vd. To understand why this case drew so much attention, you also have to understand who David is. Born David Anthony Burke in Queens, New York, he moved with his family to Houston when he was about 7 years old. Unlike most kids his age, David wasn't immersed in local culture or school life. He was homeschooled, which meant fewer opportunities to form friendships offline. He has said openly that he didn't have many friends growing up, and that the internet became his neighborhood. It was where he socialized, built community, and ultimately, where he launched his career. That career took off quickly. By his late teens, David had exploded onto TikTok, where his breakout single, Romantic Homicide, went viral. The track has since been streamed over 1 billion times on Spotify, and today, his TikTok account has close to 4 million followers, while his Instagram has over 2 million. But the way he presented himself set him apart. David leaned heavily into darkness, both in his music and in his stage shows. Fans described his concerts as feeling almost like funerals. He brought a casket on stage, encouraged fans to write their grief or heartbreak into notebooks he handed out, and he sometimes wore and even sold blood-spattered shirts as part of his merch. The lyrics of Romantic Homicide only added to that aura. It's a song about anger and imagining life without someone who caused him pain. Lines about wishing death on a lover and feeling nothing after killing the relationship strikes as raw, confessional, and chilling. And when you look at the words themselves, it's not hard to see why the track unsettled so many listeners. In the back of my mind, I killed you, and I didn't even regret it. I can't believe I said it, but it's true. I hate you. The song's success led many to assume David had lived through multiple relationships and heartbreaks, but in interviews, he admitted that wasn't true. At the time he wrote it, he'd never even had a girlfriend. Still, Romantic Homicide resonated deeply. It opened the door to a record deal, collaborations, brand campaigns, and eventually a global tour. On the surface, he was a 20-year-old living the dream, a rising star with charting singles and millions of fans watching his every move online. But beneath the surface, his music and performances painted a darker picture, and it was also online, in those same spaces where he built his following, that his path and Celeste's began to overlap. Back in October of 2022, when David was 17 and Celeste was only 12, a Discord chat captured one of the first overlaps between them. David typed, "Celeste in here?" And a user with her name replied, "Hi David, Bark." It was a small exchange, but it suggested a familiarity that may have started even earlier. In December of 2023, a track reportedly recorded by David began circulating online. The demo title? Celeste. While it was never officially released, the leak spread quickly through fan spaces, and internet sleuths immediately tied it back to the missing teenager who shared the same name. But it was the lyrics that made this track stand out, and later turned it into one of the most disturbing pieces of the timeline. Reportedly in the song, David sings directly to someone named Celeste. He repeats her name, even crying out, "Oh, Celeste." The verses describe obsession, smelling her clothes, hearing her voice with every breath, and confessing, "I'm obsessed." The chorus takes it further, imagining dark thoughts tied to love and possession. What once sounded like just another moody love song has taken on a far darker meaning in light of what we know today. And here's the glaring issue. If the Celeste he was singing about was the same Celeste who later went missing, the timing is deeply troubling. When this demo leaked, Celeste Rivas Hernandez was only 13 years old. David, meanwhile, was 18, legally an adult and already on the rise in his music career. That 5-year age gap wasn't just unusual. It raised serious questions about boundaries, responsibility, and what any connection between them would mean under the law. So when internet sleuths tied the leaked song to Celeste, it wasn't just unsettling, it was a red flag. The lyrics, obsessive, intimate, confessional, seemed to describe a relationship that could not have been appropriate. On January 11th, 2024, David appeared on a live stream with a girl who looked strikingly similar to Celeste.
I media trained you. That's controversial.
It's controversial of...
Really good.
Okay,
It's
bye.
been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my. Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
You can hear her accuse him of PDF behavior, a shorthand term viewers use online when hinting at inappropriate relationships. Moments later, she bursts into laughter. And that's when David can be heard saying, "Delete everything." Fans didn't miss the reference either. In the comments, some began posting his first name alongside the last name of a notorious figure often associated with that same accusation. On February 26, 2024, a comment appeared under one of David's TikTok posts. It read, "Waiting for LAPD to get your ass for messing with a 13-year-old girl." This wasn't written in hindsight. It was posted weeks before Celeste would even be reported missing for the first time, and that timing matters. It shows that people online were already connecting David's name to a teenage girl, and not just any teenager, but one whose age was being called out directly. Whether it was based on rumor, inside knowledge, or just suspicion, the comment captured what many now see as a chilling foreshadowing. That even before Celeste disappeared, parts of the internet had already tied her name to David. Around March 28, 2024, within David's fan community, rumors circulated that David was dating someone. One user wrote simply, "Yeah, her name is Celeste." At that point, it was still chatter online, but just days later, her family would take a step that made the situation official. On April 5, 2024, Celeste's family reported her missing. That night, around 9 o'clock in Lake Elsinore, she left home and never returned. According to her brother, Celeste said she was going to the movies with David. When she didn't come back, her parents put out flyers, circulated her picture, and pleaded for information. For them, this was no longer rumor. This was a crisis. In May, according to one of her teachers, police had managed to locate Celeste and return her home. But soon after, she disappeared again. This time, she would not come back. On June 27, 2024, David reposted a TikTok clip of raw meat being chopped. The caption he added read, "Me, if I see her talk with other dudes." At the time, it looked like a joke, the kind of dark, exaggerated humor that floats easily on social media. Fans might have scrolled past it without a second thought, but after Celeste's remains were discovered, that post resurfaced, and suddenly, it didn't feel like a harmless meme anymore. It became one of several disturbing references that fueled suspicion about how he really viewed her, not just as a fan, but as someone he felt a possessive, even threatening attachment to. For the public, it raised a chilling question. Was this just internet humor, or a glimpse into a mindset that blurred the line between performance and real life? In February of 2025, David released the music video for his song, One More Dance. It leaned into the same darkness that had become part of his image. Theatrical, heavy with symbolism. But one scene in particular stood out. In it, David, along with two others, is shown dragging a body and forcing it into the trunk of a car. The trunk slams shut, the image unmistakable. Was it just shock art? Another haunting visual in a career built on grief, obsession, and loss? Or was it something more? Art imitating real life. By late summer of 2025, David was on his first world tour. But in Los Angeles, one of his cars, a black Tesla registered in his name, had been sitting idle in the Hollywood Hills. On August 24, 2025, David was performing at a concert in Silver Spring, Maryland. Footage from that night appears to show a girl in the balcony, standing next to a man who looks like David's brother. She was wearing a black tube top and jeans, clothing consistent with what Celeste would later be found in. Her stature, posture, and the way her hair frames her face all resembled her known images. The pair were in the balcony area, a section usually reserved for VIP guests. And during his set, David seems to notice them. At one point, he even forms a heart with his hands in their direction. For a moment, many believed this could be one of the last images of Celeste alive. But now, that sighting is being called into question. TMZ has since reported that a source close to the investigation says the girl in the video is not Celeste. So while the footage sparked widespread speculation, as of now, it remains unconfirmed. Meanwhile, back in Los Angeles, where the Tesla had been sitting idle, just 3 days after the concert sighting, on August 27th at 2:26 p.m., a parking enforcement officer inspected the car. The officer noted that the car was parked on the street and marked it for review under the city's 72-hour parking rule. If the Tesla was still in the same place 3 days later, it would be in violation and subject to a citation or tow. In their notes, the officer even documented the car's rear dent, the same dent neighbors would later point to when describing the vehicle. The officer scheduled a return check for September 3rd, around the same time. That would be the 72-hour mark. On September 3rd, at 12 a.m., a parking citation was issued for the Tesla. The Department of Transportation's Hollywood division logged it as a Tesla passenger vehicle with Texas plates, parked in front of 1406 Bluebird Avenue. The violation, exceeding the city's 72-hour parking limit. But that wasn't the only attention the car received that day. Later on, neighbors also reported the vehicle abandoned. It was about a block and a half from the residence connected to David's manager, the home where reportedly David had been staying. Some said it had been sitting there for weeks. Others insisted it had been parked in the same spot for more than a month. Between the official ticket and the mounting complaints, the car was on everyone's radar. On September 6, 2025, after the parking citation and repeated complaints from neighbors, the black Tesla was finally towed. It was hauled from Bluebird Avenue to a Hollywood impound lot. The very next day, September 7, 2025, should have been Celeste's birthday. She would have turned 15 years old. Instead, her family marked the day without her, still searching for answers more than a year after she vanished. Then on the morning of September 8, 2025, workers at the impound lot noticed a foul odor coming from the Tesla. When they opened the front trunk, they found the badly decomposed remains of a young girl. She was wrapped in plastic, wearing a tube top and black leggings, with wavy black hair, a stud earring, and a yellow bracelet. Dental records soon confirmed what her family had feared. It was Celeste. The discovery set off a chain reaction. Police moved quickly to secure evidence, serve search warrants, and seize electronics tied to David. But as days passed without an arrest, the outrage only grew louder. In the hours after Celeste's body was discovered on September 8, 2025, detectives with the Los Angeles Police Department began retracing the final movements of the Tesla. Within days, they secured a search warrant. On September 17, 2025, LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division executed that warrant at a Hollywood Hills property tied to David's manager. Neighbors watched as officers carried out computers, electronics, and evidence bags. Some said they believed Celeste had been living there with David in the weeks before her body was found. One neighbor told reporters they recognized her from photos, recalling seeing the pair heading out together occasionally, but described them as quiet and withdrawn. Others emphasized how little they noticed. No parties, no police visits, no loud disturbances. One neighbor told The Sun, "Anytime I tried to talk to them, they weren't very engaging." Reports also surfaced that the house was outfitted with security cameras and a Ring doorbell. Some claim the doorbell camera had even been smashed, though it's not clear whether that's accurate or whether any footage was recovered. By the time police executed the search warrant, the lease on the house was already being terminated. Neighbors said the home had been quiet for months, until the sudden arrival of investigators made the property impossible to ignore. Following the raid, reports indicate that David had left the Hollywood Hills home and has not been seen there since. At the same time, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed Celeste's identity, but said her remains were so badly decomposed that determining her exact cause of death would take time. Investigators also stated the body had been in the Tesla for an extended period, but they could not yet say precisely how long. This delay left critical blanks. Police still need to know exactly when Celeste died, when her body was placed in the car, and who had access to it at that moment. And that's where public frustration began to boil over. Online, fans and critics alike asked the same question. If Celeste was found in David's Tesla, why wasn't he under arrest? Fueling that speculation was something else: the tattoo. Celeste's mother confirmed that her daughter had a tattoo on her finger that read, "Shh." David is known to have the very same tattoo on his own index finger. For many, it was more than coincidence. It became a visual link between them that the internet seized on, pointing to it as proof of a deeper connection. Some speculated he was being protected. Others claimed favoritism, or that he was paying his way out of trouble. But investigators were more cautious. The car was one of several vehicles linked to David, and multiple people had access to them. Paperwork alone couldn't prove who put Celeste there. For police, building a case that would hold up in court means waiting for forensic tests, for digital evidence from the seized devices, and for the medical examiner's ruling. For the public, it feels like silence. And in that silence, suspicion only continues to grow, fueled not just by the car and the timeline, but by David's own music, imagery, tattoos, and online posts. In the weeks after Celeste's body was identified, public outrage only intensified. On social media, the hashtag Justice for Celeste trended across TikTok, Instagram, and X. Fans and critics demanded answers, tagging the LAPD, the district attorney, and even David's record label. Industry reaction came quickly. By mid-September, brand partners began pulling back. Collaborations were quietly canceled. Playlists featuring David's music shrank. And just days later, his world tour was suspended. Venues pulled dates, ticket sales froze, and the future of his career was suddenly uncertain. But at the very same time, another trend emerged. David's music streams actually soared. Romantic Homicide and his other tracks climbed back up the charts, fueled by morbid curiosity and endless chatter online. It was a paradox. As calls for justice grew louder, so did his reach. For Celeste's family, though, the attention was bittersweet. Her mother and relatives attended vigils, holding photos of Celeste, calling not only for justice, but for accountability from those who ignored the warning signs. Then, on September 23, 2025, the Los Angeles County coroner officially released Celeste's body back to her family. Her funeral has been scheduled for October 4th, a date that will bring loved ones together to mourn a daughter, a sister, and a friend gone far too soon. The question on everyone's mind remains the same. How could a missing 14-year-old girl end up in the trunk of David's Tesla and no arrest be made? As investigators continue to process evidence, the court of public opinion has already reached its verdict. For some, the unanswered silence feels like complicity. For others, it's a sign that the system is still building its case. Even with all of this, the investigation isn't over. Detectives are still piecing together the trail, and much of that work will come from the digital side. David himself has admitted that the internet was his neighborhood. He lived online. That means detectives are now combing through what is likely a vast amount of messages, group chats, posts, streams, and private files to reconstruct what really happened. There are other fragments too. A photo surfaced showing David in a parking lot near Celeste's home in Lake Elsinore, though the exact date of when it was taken remains unclear. Police were also reported to be looking for blood evidence, but so far, they have not confirmed whether any was found. And then, there's the reality of the Tesla. While the car was registered to David, others had access to it. Investigators have to rule out every possibility, every other person, before placing the responsibility squarely on him. In the days following the discovery, we heard mixed reports about whether David was cooperating with police. Some sources said he offered information, while others suggested he was less forthcoming. More recent reports, however, claim he is cooperating fully. That shift in reporting only adds to the public's frustration, and to the sense that answers remain just out of reach. The optics may look bad for David. The tattoos, the leaked demo, the music video, the disturbing posts, all of it fuels suspicion. But suspicion alone won't lead to a conviction. For prosecutors, the standard is high. They need to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That means connecting each piece of evidence, like links in a chain, strong enough to hold up in court. Until investigators can connect the pieces into a complete picture, one that holds up in a courtroom, this case remains unsettled and painful for those who loved Celeste. And so, the questions remain. Has David been dropping breadcrumbs of his crime all along? Or is someone using the dark persona he created, his lyrics, his imagery, his theatrics, as a cover for their own actions? Was the shh tattoo just a coincidence, or was it a pact, a quiet agreement to keep their relationship hidden, given its taboo nature? And why, in so many images and videos, did Celeste appear cloaked, in hoodies, in oversized glasses, as if someone was intent on keeping her identity blurred? This is under investigation. Thank you for watching.